I have a disability. It's one part of my life, but there's also things that I can do too. And I had to give myself permission to do those things. I have always known that I like to write and I like to read. And I also discovered a love for photography. And whenever I am doing those activities, I don't feel like I have a disability. I feel like it actually helps me with mine. And that's all right that I have things that I'm good at and I have some things that I'm not. And I have to give myself that permission to really engage in those things that I like to do and I can do rather than trying to fix things that I just simply can't change about me.
Hello, hello. Welcome to Allow Yourself podcast. Today we have a really interesting guest. Her name is Michelle Steiner, and she will tell us a lot about herself and her coping with her disability. And she lives with what she calls invisible disability. From the start, many people have told her she could not go to college, get her bachelor's degree, get published, or have the job she wanted. She has been to do all that and more. Michelle graduated from Slippery Rock University with a bachelor's degree in community programming. She has articles published in different magazines, The Reluctant Spoonie, Calopina Collective, Imagine the World as One Magazine, and Word Gathering. Her photographs were featured in Word Gathering, Independent, and Work Ready. She works as a paraeducator in a school with students with disabilities. And she lives in Pennsylvania with her husband and 2 cats. So let's welcome Michelle Steiner. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you very much for being here. It's an honor for us and to really have you here. And I wanted to ask you, when you hear allow yourself, what comes to mind?
I think when I hear allow myself, it's giving myself the permission to be who I am and not what somebody else wants me to be or thinks that I should be. I get that chance to be my authentic self.
And how you do that?
I think a lot of how I get that chance to do it is making sure that I'm comfortable being who I am. And that can be engaging in activities that I like to do, or it can also just be I dress how I want. I get that chance to go in and I allow other people to be who they are too. And I think it's when you bring yourself into those situations where you know that this is the right fit for you, then that allows you to be who you are and allows other people to be who they are as well.
So, what you're saying is a matter of respect, that when you allow yourself to be you and to be comfortable in your own skin,
Hmm.
then is when you allow others to do so.
Yes.
So, no judgment, no criticize, no, just respect and see
Right.
how they are. So, you say that you have an invisible disability. What that does mean?
I have dyscalculia, and then I have limited hand dexterity, and I also have visual perception of it's in my brain, not in my eyes. And those are all conditions that people can't see. Other people are were so used to conditions we're able to see, such as somebody that has uh, a physical disability and needs a wheelchair, or they have a cane or crutches, or somebody that might have one that we can see like with their face. And we're so used to seeing all of those. But when somebody says that they have a disability, such as a learning disability, autism, or chronic pain, those are disabilities that we're not able to see.
Yeah, and sometimes we don't even believe them, right? It's because they are
Right.
tags that we don't see. So if we don't see it, it doesn't exist unless we feel it ourselves. So what what permission did you have to give yourself in order to show up as you are?
I had to give my permission that it was all right that I had a disability. And it was all right that I also needed accommodations to be able to do things. I think that was one of the really hard things because I was diagnosed when I was very young. I was diagnosed in kindergarten. And in order for me to be able to go through school and just to have a lot of those things in my life, I needed to learn that it was all right that, all right, I have a disability. It's one part of my life, but there's also things that I can do too. And I had to give myself permission to do those things. I have always known that I like to write and I like to read, and I also discovered a love for photography. And whenever I am doing those activities, I don't feel like I have a disability. I feel like it actually helps me with mine, and that's all right that I have things that I'm good at and I have some things that I'm not, and I have to give myself that permission to really engage in those things that I like to do and I can do rather than trying to fix things that I just simply can't change about me.
Wow, it's that's very strong. What you're saying is the acceptance of your
Hmm.
limitations and giving the attention to your strength. So your disability just helped you to to convert it in a kind of blessing that
Yes.
giving you direction. Is that correct?
It does, because that gives me that direction. Everything I thought that would be that hindrance and other people thought would really stop me from being successful in my life has actually turned out to really strengthen me in my life. I work with students that have disabilities in the school, and I can remember really being concerned, well, I can't do math. How am I going to help students? And I can remember somebody saying, "Oh, I would want to be a god if I helped kids. I would want them to think I know everything." And I had to get really comfortable with saying, "I can't help you. I can help you with anything except for math." And I no longer look at that as something that really is a hindrance. I look at that as a strength because I can really show my students that everybody has something they're good at, everybody has something that they're not so good at, and that's okay in life. And I think it also makes me more empathetic because I know where a lot of my students are coming from that have disabilities. A lot of them, it's like a recording of myself at that age. I hate my disability. I wish I didn't have it. And I get that chance to kind of go in and say that it's not, there's nothing wrong with having that. And I can show them how to advocate. And I don't think that if I didn't have one, that I would be able to really know where someone is coming from. It also is something that strengthens me whenever I am on my walks. I'm not able to drive, but I get that chance to take a walk whenever I don't have a ride to get somewhere. And I get that chance to take a picture of flowers and other things in nature. And I think to myself, if I was in a car, there is so much stuff that I would miss that I would really be sad about that. But that's my chance to stop and smell the roses in life.
Really, really beautiful. But my question, my I
Mhm.
wonder if so many people told you you cannot do that, you cannot go to college, you cannot graduate, you heard a lot of voices out there
Mhm.
saying you can't, you can't, you can't. So how did you flip it to yes, you can, yes, I can? Because sometimes our environment, um, we want to please others and we want to um, belong or fit in, that we just behave to make them happy, right? Although
Right.
you did it in the opposite direction. That is like, who did you hear or how did you flip it in order for you to say, yes, I can? Want to see? Yes, I can. Mm.
Right. I did have a lot of people telling me that I couldn't do it, but I also had people that were supportive in my life. I had a wonderful student teacher that I encountered my junior year, and she told me, "You can go to college because you know how to study and you're a hard worker." I don't remember that woman's name, but I can remember those words whenever I was at school, and it was really hard that I could do it. I also have great parents that advocated for me all throughout my years in school. And I also have some great friends that were a wonderful support system for me. I can remember we couldn't fix that I had a disability, but we could go and laugh and hang out together, and I had that support. So I think that helped out a lot too. But what really also helped me was finding a way to work around the things that did give me difficulty and finding a way to be able to go to college and making those decisions that I knew were best for me, allowing myself to do that. I knew that I wanted to work with children, but becoming a certified teacher was not going to be the best field for me. So I found a way that I didn't have to go and become a certified teacher. I could still work in a child care center. I could still be a teacher's aide and still have that degree and that experience. And when I went to get my bachelor's degree, I knew that I still didn't want to do that certified teacher position. And I knew going into places that are fields that involved a lot of math and science were going to be hard for me. So I found a way that was able to still get my degree, but it's something that I love, but it was not a lot of math and science. And I also had to get really comfortable for advocating for myself for accommodations. That was really hard too because there was so much stigma that surrounded them. But when I followed through and I used them, I was able to have good grades. I made Dean's List first semester and I graduated with a bachelor's degree, despite everyone telling me I couldn't do it. But what I have to do in my life is I have to make some really wise choices. I have to think about uh, the things I'm not able to do or that I really struggle with. And then I had to think, well, how can I find a way around there? I think the perfect analogy sometimes of that is I can't use an escalator when I go out when I'm out in public. My brain can't tell when to go on and when to get off. So I can either use the stairs or an elevator. I'm still getting to the same destination. I just need to find the different way to do that. And I need to allow myself that it's all right to find that different way because we're all going to the same place.
So you were really vulnerable
Hmm.
and compassionate to yourself in order to get that acceptance. Because, yes, I cannot do that, but I can find a way to do it. It's not, I
Hmm.
cannot do that and that's it. Is I cannot do that, but I can go around, I call it flip it, and
Hmm.
be around it to be able to do to do it. So um, that part of the acceptance and for you to be vulnerable on for your classmates and your teachers and the family
Hmm.
and everybody to accept, how was it? How did you get there?
I know whenever I was younger, it was a lot harder because my classmates, I went to a very small conservative school district where everybody knew each other. And I couldn't hide the fact that I had a learning disability and that I struggled in the classroom and that I had some classes where I had to go to for specialty instruction. So it was really hard within my school community when I was younger. Academically, it got a lot easier for me as I went through school, but socially, it got harder and I wasn't connecting with my peers. So I ended up finding a group outside of my school district and I found an arts group that was just outside of my district and it was other teenagers that had the same interest, but they didn't go to my school. And once I transitioned out of that group, I found a writing group for adults. And 30 some years later, we still meet once a month to talk about our writing or in each other's lives. So I think that was one of those things. But when I was in school, it was having the specialty instruction where I needed it at. And it was also having accommodations. So I could go to class for the areas I was able to. They knew I could read really well. They knew I could write. So I was put into regular ed classes for history, science, which was a little bit of a struggle, and eventually English. So I think it was having that was really key because when you're in the specialty instruction classes, there's the work, but there's not that expectation of sometimes homework. You're not tested to to do that, but it serves that point to get you through school, which a person does need to know how to do. But having those classes where that teacher had those expectations of making sure that homework was done and having a test, and that was really important for me to that I could carry that on, especially with going to college. Because when you get to college, there is no classes that are just for somebody that has a disability. You are expected to maintain a certain GPA and to pass courses or to get there are certain services that you can get with that as well. And they do have accommodations, but that starts to be that's your responsibility when you're in college. You're the person that has to go and register with the Office for Students with Disabilities. You're the one that needs to tell your professor that you have a disability, and whatever the services are. And they vary from person to person and also school to school. You have to be the one saying, I'm going to need a note taker. You have to be the person that gets the notes from the office or however they distribute them. You have to be the one that takes that a paper to your professor for him to sign off that you're going to need extra test time or to have a test read aloud to you. And that was really hard. I think in the very beginning that was difficult for me because everything else when in high school somebody else did for you and you had to be that person and you had to get really comfortable with speaking up for yourself and you had to really look at your disability. I had to look at my disability and say, okay, these are the things I can't do. This is definitely a no, and but these are the things I can do, and really looking to that and focusing on my strengths because that those are the things I can control in life.
I love it how you speak about it so openly and so like,
Hmm.
oh, naturally, right? But it takes so much courage to, I can see it in different ways. I can see it, let's say with people that have no disability, okay? It's um, the courage to ask
Hmm.
what you need. Okay, that's not for granted. That's a lot. You need a lot of courage for that to go to each person and say, and the other is not only your acceptance of the situation of your vulnerability, but also to take away the power of the secret, right? Because a lot of people
Hmm.
take especially because it's an invisible disability. You can say, I'm normal, I don't have anything, I don't have to ask, I just avoid it,
Hmm.
I don't speak up, I don't ask, I don't. So it will make your life much more difficult instead of saying, okay, I have difficulty in this, that
Hmm.
you call it disability, sometimes it's blessings, right? That you can learn to do something that it's taken for granted, like I cannot do this, I cannot do that. I'm good in math. I'm not good in math. I'm good in reading and writing. Um, but it takes awareness, acceptance, and courage to get there, to be able to go teacher by teacher saying, okay, I need extra time because this is my situation. And I can even see that there are some that believe you and some that don't believe you. So you have to prove it that you're not making it up just to take advantage of the system. Correct?
Hmm. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. To get any services in the United States, you have to have documentation that you have a disability to get that.
So there is a lot of vulnerability that is the
Hmm.
basic of the creativity of, for me, as you say, it is
Yeah.
to how to turn it around and how to go around what you cannot do. A lot of courage, a lot of learning to how to step up without feeling ashamed or blamed or guilty or
Mhm.
humiliated, because you have to step up being proud of yourself in order for others to respect what you are. What you said at the beginning is just to respect yourself in order to be respected by others and to respect others, and to ask, because I have seen a lot of people, including myself, that sometimes it's very, very hard to ask for help because we feel weak, we feel diminished, we feel, what are they going to think, that I'm not valuable, that I'm not the superwoman, that I can do everything. So from early in life, you learn how to be the Wonder Woman, not the Superwoman. That's how I call it. The Wonder Woman is that, okay, some things I can do, but I wonder if I want to do them. And the other is that some things I'm not good at it, so I wonder when I cannot do it. So
Right. Yeah, I mean, that is knowing your limits and knowing what you can do, and that, but the blessing with not being able to do everything is that other people can do what you can't do. And everybody, the world needs all kinds of different thinkers, and we need people that have a different skill set, because what I can't do, somebody else can do. And what somebody else can't do, I'm able to do.
that's the complementation and the helping, and the at the end of
Hmm.
the day we are all together, right? In that, but you have that very clear. Those boundaries and those your limitations that are not really limitations, that are skills that you need to manage and you need help. Um, and yet that's brilliant because most of the people don't have that. That's why they don't ask for help. They don't allow themselves to feel vulnerable. They don't allow themselves to go
Right.
out there. So I heard that you have a blog. Tell us a little bit about your blog. What do you write in your blog? What questions people ask you, or how? What makes you write it?
Sure. I have a blog called Michelle's Mission where I write about my life with a learning disability and I feature my photography. I use a lot of nature analogies. I might talk about the process of accepting my disability has been like a metamorphosis with the butterflies, as you can see behind me, that I like that. I also might talk about a flower that's blooming, and I might compare my learning disability to that and the different kinds of flowers. And I try to write where people with disabilities can be able to understand about that, and also maybe family members can as well. I also feature a lot of the photography that I take on my walks and on my other adventures that I get that chance to see, and all the beautiful things from my walks in life. And I want this to be a blog where people can be encouraged, empowered, and also educated just about disabilities as well.
How do you define disability?
I think that disability can be defined in different ways too. I mean, I think that we have when somebody isn't able to do one thing in life, that is just that's our medical model where we have a disability that defines that. But I think everybody in some ways does have a certain kind of difficulty. And I think when someone has a disability, it's more of what somebody might have. And it's just, and that can be something in life that really defines that. I mean, there is definitely a part of that is that, but then there's also with just maybe having other things that I can do as well too. So I think it's one of those things is personal for each person to be able to describe that.
Interesting, because when you were talking, what came to my mind, not to dismiss or to
Hmm.
diminish the disability word, but for example, in this what podcast that I have and the research I've been doing about allowing yourself,
Hmm.
I can say that one of the biggest disabilities is that people don't allow themselves to rest.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
they don't allow themselves to rest, so they have burnouts, the brain cannot function the same, um, they cannot think, they cannot reflect because they don't pause, everything is in automatic and everything is rush rush rush, so it becomes a real disability, right? It's not
Right.
genetic. I was not born with it. I develop it in order to fit in, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so it's a disability too.
Right.
Do you
And
agree with me?
right. Oh, I definitely agree with you. A lot of times people can't rest or put their mind at ease, and it's learning how to just slow down sometimes, I think is one. Another disability that a lot of people have can also be ignorance towards others that have that, because at times I people will say, "Well, you don't look like you're disabled," because they can't see it. And I'll say I do explain there's ones we can see and ones we can't. And people will say, well, I'm giving you a compliment because you don't look disabled. And I'm like, well, there's nothing wrong with having one either way, whether we can see it or we can't. And I think sometimes there's that part where people aren't aware of things. And I think that's
Sorry.
also, oh, sorry.
It's fine. Something happened. I don't know. An alarm.
Oh no.
So fine. It's fine. Here we are again. Yeah.
Yes. But
Yes.
yeah, sometimes that can be that too. I mean, it can come in different forms. It's not just that person that has something, that mountain they just can't move, or that limitation that they just can't get past. It can be on another person's perspective on somebody. It can also just be that not resting. And I think that it comes in many different forms in life.
Disability can be an addiction, can be your phone that you cannot concentrate
Yep,
in anything else.
exactly.
You cannot focus because your phone doesn't allow you to to focus.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a different. Those are invisible as you define them,
Right,
invisible disabilities. Yes, we are in society. We have a lot the stigma that a disability is a wheelchair, and that's it,
right.
or blind or deaf, but not behavioral disabilities. Yeah.
Right, exactly. A lot of times when you said about the phone, that becomes a cultural norm that we don't think about it. And that can be something that really can be a disability as well, with that as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of words and a lot of juicy context and to
Hmm.
to reflect about it. Yeah, so thank you very
Right.
much for bringing that. One question that I like to ask is, what do you need to allow yourself now, give permission to yourself in order to move forward to your next step in life? Is there anything that you need to allow yourself?
I think I need to allow myself to try different things. That is something that I think is always important too. I definitely know that I need to allow myself to try different things with writing, to try to kind of branch out. I also need to allow myself to write my book about my life. I mean, I think that that's definitely something I need to give myself that permission to do.
To take risks, that's what you're saying, to try different things in.
Hmm. Yep.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to share with us? Is there any advice you would like to take to give our audience one permission that they should give themselves just as an advice from you?
I think I would give them somebody that permission to know what they want and to be able to find a way to achieve that.
And find the way. Not just, I
Mhm.
would like this, just to find the way. Go and act and find the way to find it.
Yes.
Beautiful. So, for those that are listening to us, we are listening and talking with Michelle Steiner, Michelle, and the last name is Steiner. So you can find her michellesteiner.com in the Facebook. And is that your website? Yes, Michelle.
My website is www.michellesmission.com.
michellesmission.com, and in Facebook and in social media as Michelle Steiner, and you can find her blog too. That is very interesting to read. So thank you very much, Michelle, for being with us, being so open, so vulnerable, and to share your really warm heart and your wisdom that allow us really to grow and to reflect and to see what invisible disabilities we have, because sometimes we just ignore that part and we should reflect what can we do it in another way, but not doing it, how can we do it in another way? So thank you very much for your participation, for sharing with us all this, and for the audience, thank you very much to being here, to allow yourself to listen, to allow yourself to grow, and especially to remind you that allow yourself to be who you meant to be. More of you. So thank you very much. We see you next time.